After taking game one of the series against the Tigers, the Cubs gave one back and lost last night by the final score of 8-2. We're going to talk about the lineup, the lack of offense, and a Cubs player who made his debut yesterday, and it did not go as planned. That and more on this edition of the Cubs Baseball Channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Get in our comment section. Let us know how you're feeling about this team as they try to win a series today against the Tigers. Here's your invitation to our show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Cubs Baseball Channel. My name's Anthony Pasquale. You can find me on Twitter at ant_Pasquale3. You can also find the Cubs Baseball Channel on those social media platforms, Twitter or X, whatever you prefer to call it, Instagram and TikTok. So follow us along on there. Get in our comment sections on there. Engage with us. We make a lot of posts and reposts and talk Cubs on there, sometimes even during the game. So follow us along on there as well. But we got to get into this. The Cubs lose to the Tigers yesterday, 8-2, the final score. Jameson Taillon allowed 4 runs in the second inning. The Cubs answered with a 2-run homer from Christian Bethancourt in the 5th. That was all the offense from the Cubs. Then the top of the 9th, Jack Neely made his Cubs debut and was roughed up a little bit. So let's go through it. The Cubs offense was bad once again. Only 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. So not getting the clutch hit wasn't exactly the problem. Instead, the problem was the fact that they just couldn't hit in general. Only 6 hits all day. Suzuki had a pair of hits. Paredes had an infield hit. Nico Horner, Crow-Armstrong had a hit, and then Christian Bethancourt had the 2-run homer. That was all the offense. The Cubs did not draw a single walk in the ball game. So kudos in part to the Tigers for commanding the strike zone, but also it's going to be really hard to generate runs if you only get 6 hits and you don't put any runners on via your eye or the hit by pitch. So the Cubs offense struggles once again. And I think, every time we get a sliver of hope that this team has a chance in the postseason, or at least a chance to get to the postseason, we get a game like this where we're reminded that this offense isn't anything special. And to be frank, to win in the playoffs, you got to have special players on a special offense. 2016, they had plenty of them. This year, I'm not sure if you have any. I heard MLB Network talking, and they said the Cubs are confusing because you look around this roster and you say, oh, he's a good player. He's a good player. Yeah, he's a good player. But the sum of the parts hasn't been good. And the question that was posed was, are any of these players guys that on a really good team would hit 2 or 3 or 4? Probably not. Like, they got a bunch of 6 hitters on a World Series team, but you're not going to win the World Series with a bunch of 6 hitters is basically the point. Like, Dansby Swanson, when he won the World Series with the Atlanta Braves, he batted 9th. Cody Bellinger was a different player than he was when the Dodgers won in 2020. But you look around the rest of the team, Seiya Suzuki, maybe he's a 5 or a 6 hitter on a really good squad. Dansby Swanson, like we said, probably a 9. Nico Horner probably down there as well. And that's kind of what you have with this team. You got a bunch of good players, and you're missing that star. And Cody Bellinger was that star last year, hasn't lived up to it this year, and you don't know if he's going to be on the team next year. But you've got an influx of prospects that are going to come up and are going to have to play certain positions, the outfield, second, third, whatever the case may be. And you're going to have to figure out a way to maneuver your roster to have room for them. So where are you going to make room for the star? And that's kind of the Cubs' big question to tackle this offseason, as they've had way too many days where the offense was quiet, just like it was last night. Let's talk about the starting pitcher, Jameson Taillon. He allowed 4 runs, and that is now out of his last 5 starts, 4 times that the veteran right-hander has allowed more than 4 runs. He was really strong for his beginning of the season, all the way up to the trade deadline pretty much. And he was giving you 5-6 innings, 2 runs, 1 run, sometimes 0. And the last few, he just hasn't been super efficient. He has been walking guys. He's still missing bats pretty well, but he's just getting hit a lot harder. And I don't know if something changed mechanically or he lost something that he had figured out at the beginning of the season. But I've been pretty concerned with the way Taillon has pitched as of late. And it makes you wonder if Jed Hoyer made a mistake not trading him at the trade deadline. So let us know in the comments section if you think that was a whiff on Jed Hoyer's part to not trade Taillon at the deadline. Speaking of trades, Jack Neely was a pitcher acquired in the Mark Leiter Jr. trade to the Yankees. He made his Cubs debut yesterday and was not particularly sharp. He allowed 4 runs in the top of the 9th inning on 3 hits, 1 walk. One of the big hits was a 3-run homer, and that stretched the game from 4-2 to 8-2 and essentially put it out of reach for the Cubs. But that wasn't the only thing that really bothered me. What bothered me is Craig Counsell's consistency to this lunacy. Patrick Wisdom pinch hitting for Michael Busch in a clutch situation. Let me tell you something about Patrick Wisdom. He's not a good hitter. He can run into the long ball here and there, but he's not the guy I want in the bottom of the 8th inning with runners on first and second. He just isn't. And I don't care if it's against a lefty. In pitch hit opportunities, Patrick Wisdom has not been good. He's hitting 197 on the season as a whole. That isn't good. But Michael Busch has been really strong all season long. And it's not only that Michael Busch has done well, against righties. He hasn't only faced righties this season. He's been really strong against lefties too. You look at the numbers, he's hitting 258 on the season with 16 homers. He's accumulated a 3 WAR in the National League, which is one of the most valuable in the league at his position. But when you look a little bit deeper and you look at the splits in terms of against lefties or against righties, I'm trying to find the numbers exactly here, but they haven't been bad. And that's the thing that I think confuses me so much, is that why would you be so hell-bent on taking this guy out of the game in a clutch spot when he's been one of your best hitters all year, when against lefties he's hitting 271 in 64 plate appearances? That's a bigger sample size than Patrick Wisdom has, and his numbers have been better. And I think that's the part that is so frustrating. So he's hitting 271 against lefties this year, and I'm pulling back up Patrick Wisdom's numbers just to take a comparison at the two different numbers. And I know batting average isn't the be-all, end-all stat, but in a clutch situation, what you need is a hit. And where do hits come? Your batting average. Against lefties this season, Patrick Wisdom is hitting 222 in 80 plate appearances. So in 16 more plate appearances, he's hitting 50 batting average percentage points lower than what Michael Busch is doing against lefties. So then how come in the bottom of the 8th inning with runners on first and second and 2 outs, Patrick Wisdom is our choice? Why isn't it Michael Busch, who has not only been a better player all season long, but actually has better numbers against lefties? I don't get it. I'm sick and tired of Patrick Wisdom flying out to the warning track to end an inning that could have been extended from a Michael Busch at bat. I'll just put it that way. As we look at the Cubs' schedule and roster and standings moving forward, they are now 3 games under 500 after dropping yesterday's ball game to the Tigers, which puts them tied for 3rd place with the Cincinnati Reds, 11.5 back in the NL Central, 5.5 back in the National League wildcard race. These percentages continue to drop as the Cubs have just a 2.7% chance to make the playoffs, and just a 0.2% chance to catch the Brewers, as they are almost 12 games back of the Brewers here on August 22nd. But like we said, the Cubs do have the easiest schedule in the National League remaining and have a game against a team below 500 to try to take advantage of today. Cubs against the Tigers at 1:20 at Wrigley Field. Cubs have their ace on the bump, Justin Steele, who had an outing shortened because of 2 rain delays last time out, only pitched, I think, less than 40 pitches in 2 innings. So Steele should be very rested, ready to go deep into this ball game. He's 3-5 on the year with a 3.10 ERA, and he's the guy that the Cubs will put on the mound today as they try to win the series against the Tigers. But for now, thank you guys so much for listening and coming to the Cubs baseball channel to chop it up about the Cubs. Make sure to keep liking and subscribing. Pass it along to your Cubs friends who want to talk about our favorite baseball team. Make sure to get in our comment section and follow us on Twitter, on TikTok, and on Instagram. But for now, go Cubs.